My next guest, Dr. Daryl Gioffre, is a renowned longevity and gut microbiome specialist, known for his acid kicking approach to nutrition to unlock energy and peak health. Driven by his mission to help people get off your acid, with over 2 decades of experience in the field, Dr. Daryl is committed to reshaping the landscape of nutrition and holistic well-being. As a board-certified chiropractor, Reiki mastered, certified raw food chef, and author of a best-selling book, he knows firsthand what it takes to overcome adversity and challenges in the pursuit of superior health. And I'm so thrilled to have him here with us today. Welcome, Dr. Daryl.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's so good to see you. Thank you for that awesome intro. Appreciate you.
You're my people, like minds, baby.
I'm telling you, you are so in alignment.
Microbiome.
I love everything you're doing. It's just incredible.
Right back at you. I mean, brother of my heart. So I want to jump right in because I want to take the listeners back to kind of the beginning, because you were once a self-proclaimed sugar addict, but you transformed yourself into a champion of wellness. So let us know what it took firsthand to overcome these challenges, and what was the caveat for optimal health? Was it, the reverse of optimal health, or what was it that made you recognize what was going on with you?
All right, I'll tell you what the pain point was in a moment. That was the literally straw that made me change everything. But we have to look at sugar for what it is. Sugar is not a food, it's a drug. It's literally become America's drug of choice. And here's the crazy thing about it. We are consuming 130 pounds of this white stuff every single year. So that equates to about 38 teaspoons a day. And here's the problem with that, Heather. Our liver can't metabolize more than 6 teaspoons after that. It literally becomes a toxic poison to our gut, to our liver, our cardiovascular system, and our brain. Literally, it poisons our brain. It basically makes us inflamed from the inside out. And it's really hard to overcome by deprivation. I mean, there's a lot of people that basically will quit sugar. Here we are in the new year. What happens? January 1 comes, flip of a calendar, and people are like, oh, I got to give up sugar. I got to go to the gym again. But what do we find? By January 17th, 92% of those people fail. Again, the reason being is that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And my mom's here visiting me in Naples, and we were laughing about this the other day. Ever since I can remember, back at 5 years old, we didn't know back then how bad it was, right? I mean, now we know that it's awful. We know that seed oils are even worse than sugar for your health, but we didn't know this back then. I'll give you an example. I would have Cheerios for breakfast, and for every spoonful of Cheerios, I would have a spoonful of sugar. It was 1 to 1. Yes. And I would go to sleep, and I would have, a bowl of M&Ms next to me as I was older, and I would literally be eating M&Ms in my sleep. I talk about all these stupid stories in my book, but my point is that sugar controlled me. It hijacked me. It hijacked my life. I had horrific skin issues as a kid because sugar feeds bacteria. And I would say the moment I knew it was bad because it was doing so many things to me, but I can never get rid of it. I would do it for 2 weeks, for 2 months, for 6 months, but it always had that captive hold on me because, again, it is such a powerful drug. I had gained a lot more weight. I was in New York City on the Upper East Side in my chiropractic practice, and I was about 50 pounds heavier than I am today. But here's the crazy thing. I didn't change my clothes. So I was literally breaking the seams. The buttons were stretching, and I was leaning down to adjust a patient one day, and true story, my pants split right down the backside. It was the most embarrassing moment. I'm usually tan, but my face turned bright red. I'm trying to back out of the adjusting area without her seeing it. And I dodged the bullet there. But for me, it was a big pain point. And I realized that I was a walking contradiction. I was telling all my patients, don't do this, don't eat sugar, blah, blah, blah. And here I was going in my back office and just pouring this stuff down to me. And it was that moment that I literally drew a line in the sand. There's a saying, if you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. I burned the boats that day, and I started really researching how to get over this sugar addiction, not by deprivation like so many people do. That's the white knuckle approach, but by adding in foods that strengthen my body, my gut from the inside out. And it all started with green juice, what I call the core of a strength eating diet.
That's amazing. I love that story. I think that one of the things that's true is it's about the education also, bringing in the awareness, because you had an extreme issue. You were really eating sugar with your cereal, and you had M&Ms by the bed. There are some people that are addicted to sugar and they don't even know it.
Right.
It's not that extreme.
And it's because it snuck its way into our diet. I mean, these manufacturers are smart. There are literally 62 hidden names for sugar.
Mhm.
So anything that ends in ose, maltose, sucrose, dextrose, that's sugar. And back in the day, you would see sugar as like the main ingredient. It would say how much was there and that was it. But now you're seeing all these other names that people don't recognize as sugar. But when you add all those up, sugar for so many of these products is the number one ingredient. And this is the big thing with the gluten-free thing out there. You know, it's like, what did these manufacturers do? It took the gluten out, which is a good thing because gluten is a weapon of mass destruction for your gut, causes massive leaky gut, but now the food tasted like cardboard. So what happened? In came sugar and artificial sweeteners to the rescue. So all they did was trade one awful ingredient for your gut with another, and people think they're doing something good for themselves, right? Oh, I'm going gluten-free. But the problem is there's all these carbohydrates that are sneaking in and they don't know it.
That's right. This is the processed food problem that we're having in the country, because sugar in a strawberry is not bad for you. And
Right.
sugar is a natural, it's natural from the earth. Like we grow sugar, it grows out. You have to make sugar cane. The problem is that these refined processed sugars that people that are hidden, like you mentioned, in the ingredients. So I want to talk about that because I really want to educate people. When you bake bread at home, I'm bringing that one up because everybody baked bread during the pandemic. It was the big deal, right? Everybody's right. Who put sugar in it? It's not an ingredient, but yet if you look on the shelves, there's a lot of sugar in bread, and it doesn't belong there. So as an additive for shelf-stable foods, you think about a McDonald's hamburger, it has the best three ingredients that the brain and the body love to feed on, and that's salt, sugar, fat. The combination
You nailed it.
Together are what keep you going back. And, I got to tell you, I was driving yesterday in my car and I was behind the school bus, and off the school bus got off an obese child. I mean, I'm telling you, an obese child. And I still woke up thinking about him today, and I want to go to his house and I want to help him. Like, that's how I feel about it. He's a child.
Breaks my heart.
And I know it's not just his weight. It's not just the weight on his heart and his vital organs. It's also his mental state and what he goes through when he gets on and off that bus every day. It broke my heart. And I had to tell the story because that salt, sugar, fat combination is killing America. And we're feeding it to our children. We're feeding it to ourselves. And so the education part is important, as is choice is always important. That is a privilege. That is a freedom to have food choice, right? Not everybody has that. So
you got it.
But today we're going to talk about those who have the choices, how to make the choices, and how to educate yourself against these chronic illnesses that we are bestowing on ourselves.
I mean, so many amazing things you said there, sad things that you said there. I have a 7 and 10-year-old, so it breaks my heart when I see that. 1 in 3 children overweight, 1 in 5 children obese. And I hate to say it, like, let's follow the trail and let's look at the household. Let's look at the parents. We're only as strong as our weakest link. And I'll never forget when I was in my practice in New York City and I had the mom coming in. I was doing live blood cell analysis and nutrition, all these things with them, not just chiropractic. And she had 3 girls. And she was basically wondering why, one of the girls was just not, like, she was very sick, she was inflamed, she was doing all these things. And I said, tell me a little bit more about what your husband does. And like, he didn't want to come in because of whatever. And like, the guys are always the worst, right? We're always the last ones. And you guys are the amazing decision makers of the house. But again, role modeling says success leaves clues. So we gotta control what we can control in our homes. And listen, I'm not like this crazy kid that doesn't let or this crazy parent that doesn't let my kids like be kids. Like, when I go out and there's a party, I'll let them do what the kids do, because I don't want them singled out as like weird kids and that. I want them to be a part of that. But like,
and that's part of the deprivation.
That's right. That's right. So it's really, it's more than balance. It's about finding a rhythm for yourself, for your family. And I think it's really about us as parents being role models for the people that we love in our life. And you said it, those 3 things, it's called the bliss point. When you take refined salt and you take sugar, and then you take the seed oils, which are the unhealthy fats that are loaded with these omega-6 fats, right? Those are the ones that drive up inflammation. That is the secret recipe to destroy our lives, to destroy our health. And I hate to say it again, I don't want to get political, but these manufacturers know exactly what they're doing. Oh, yeah. They don't care about your health. They don't care. All they care about is their bottom line. They want you to be a customer for life. So when you go to that grocery store, Heather, you're not buying one bag of chips, you're buying 5 bags of chips. And when you get home and you open that bag, and I've been there a million times over on that yo-yo, you're not going to eat one chip, you're going to destroy the entire bag because it's addictive. And when you look at these ultra processed foods, there's so many studies coming about this right now, which is amazing. So the consciousness is finally happening, which I love about it. But there was a specific study last year in the Journal of the American Medical Association, and they showed that it was a huge study. It was, I believe, around 42,000 females from age 41 to about 61. And basically what they found was that the group that ate 9 servings of ultra-processed foods every single day were 50% more likely to have depression than the group that ate 4 servings or less. That's a significant stat. When you eat sugar for 12 days, just 12 days, right? I was addicted for a good portion of my life, but 12 days, it has significant changes in your microbial diversity in your gut that it actually will change the brain neurons. It causes neuroplasticity in a bad way. It actually causes inflammation of the brain because there is something called the gut-brain axis. All right, the group that ate more sugar actually had less memory capacity, long-term and short-term, not to mention not just depression, but anxiety, ADD, ADHD, neurologic tics. And here's the problem. If we don't get to the root cause of why we're having these conditions, and it doesn't matter what it is because it's all inflammation of the brain is literally on fire with these people. And I was there myself. The same pathology that drives the inflammation that causes anxiety and depression, ADD, ADHD, is the same pathology left unchecked that will cause dementia, Alzheimer's, and MS. It's the same thing. It's more time for the brain to get damaged.
100%. When you take your car through the seasons, the winter, you take care of your car. You don't leave the salt on it. You wash the salt off of it. What we're doing when we're eating processed foods like that, we just keep piling it on, piling it on, piling it on, piling it on. And now you're walking down a road, and now you're on that road. That is your path for life. That is your life path. And what you're going to see, the signs on that path, you're going to see obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes. You're going to see dementia, Alzheimer's disease. That's the road that you're on. Now, you can choose to change that road at any time. And guess what? You can reverse the damage that you've been doing on the path all the way. So as coaches, we both focus on getting to the root cause, right? So I want to just say to the listeners out there, at the end of the day, you know what you're doing right and you know what you're doing wrong. You do. And you can lie to yourself and you can do all this stuff. But if you're honest with yourself, you know what you're doing wrong and you're doing right. If you just start there, then there are things that you think you're doing right and you need a little help. And there's, Dr. Daryl and places like me and lots of nutrition out there that you can go find. You Google the Mediterranean diet, try things like that. But I want to get to the root cause. I just wanted to say to people, you know what's happening in your home. But I want to talk about inflammation as something we both really rally against.
Right on.
Because, getting to the root cause of inflammation by restoring balance and strengthening your microbiome, which I want to talk about, which you call gut fitness, because I want to talk also about just the biome. Because I want to remind people about the connectivity of us and the planet and nature and all that stuff. And I know it seems almost antithesis, being that we're in this real tech age where everything's AI and everybody's thinking for yourself. But the combination of the two, to me, is the magic. I'm not going to let anyone think for me. I have to make my own choices. So I want to talk just a little bit about what we both understand. I want you to explain the biome first and how we see the biome connected to so many things, both outside, but then inside our body, because that really is the first path, right? That's the first step on the path. And I want you to just break it down a little bit for him, Doc. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And I just want to say one thing, because I love your attitude and approach and what you said, because it's about giving people hope. There was one point where I was so sick with mold toxicity, I thought I was going to die. We can change. Like, these things are reversible. There's no such things as incurable diseases, only incurable people. You have to understand that. There's not a single specific disease known for man that has not been able to reverse itself, right? And when you look at all those different diseases that you rattled off, heart disease, the number one killer, cancer, number two killer, which has now overtaken heart disease as the number one killer in 21 states, which is wild. Diabetes, metabolic syndrome, Alzheimer's. I don't remember hearing about Alzheimer's growing up. The fourth leading cause of death. I lost my godmother to Alzheimer's. It's horrific, right? But here's what you have to understand is that as an American population, we make up 5% of the world's population. We spend over 50% of the world's money on what they call medical care. I call sick care. Now, listen, this is not about bashing medicine. Thank God we have the most technology in the world, but it's for crisis, right? We have the best crisis care system, but we do not have a sick care system. We rank 72nd in world health. I can't even name 71 countries ahead of us.
Right.
It's insane, right? So we have to start to think differently. It's not about taking the drug or a natural something in its place. We can't supplement our ways out of what I call a crap diet, CRAP, completely refined and processed, otherwise known as the SAD diet, the standard American diet. And we have to understand and recognize that it all begins in the gut. Yes. Hippocrates said it best. He was the father of modern medicine. He said, look to the gut. It's where all disease begins. And when I say disease with a hyphen, that means lack of balance, lack of harmony, because the more lack of balance, that turns to disease. And what am I talking about? You said the magic word, inflammation. Because at the end of the day, how are we ranked 72nd in world health? We don't die of old age. We die of inflammation. Yes. All those diseases that you said, they're all inflammatory in nature. And where does this all begin? The gut. We have to look at the gut because it is so significant. When he said that all disease begins in the gut, why is the gut so important? 80% of our nerve system lives in our gut. 80% of our immune system lives in our gut. So how come during COVID, no one was talking about your gut health? 80% of your immune system is there, right? 95% of the body's serotonin, your happy feel-good hormone, is not made in the brain. It's made in the gut. And probably most important and most significant and most underlooked is your gut is your body's first line of defense. Mm-hmm. It is the first line of defense to pathogens, toxins in the water that we drink, the air that we breathe, the food that we eat. It bypasses right through that stomach acid because as we get older, we have less stomach acid, which is bad. And that creates a disaster in our gut because it becomes this home for all these different toxins. And again, we're more toxic than we've ever been in human history. And our gut has now become a literal minefield. And those toxins are breaching through that gut wall. You got to look at your gut like a garden. You want lots of flowers. You don't want lots of weeds. And unfortunately for most of us, and I've tested thousands of gut microbiomes, the weeds are overtaking the garden. They're destroying our healthy probiotics, our good part of our microbiome. And now they're breaching that dam, the part that basically blocks the gut into the rest of the body. And now all these toxins are getting into the body where now they become systemic to attack anywhere. And what happens? They go to the body's weakest area, right? The weakest chain in the link. And for some people, that might be the brain, like it was for me. I had such horrific brain fog. I called it brain debilitation. For other people, the first gland that gets hit is the thyroid gland. So we'll see hypothyroidism. I see it all the time. It's not a thyroid issue. It's a gut issue. You're not breaking down the foods to get those nutrients to the thyroid gland to create the necessary hormones that we need. Reproductive issues, skin issues. I don't care what names the doctors call it. We have to get back to the gut because that's where most of these things begin.
The root cause. If you're having, I always say the same as you about the flower and the flowers and the weeds in the garden of your belly, right? I use the same exact analogy. And what I remind people, which is really important, for whatever reason, no matter what, your flower garden, your vegetable garden, whatever garden you're doing, if you don't weed it, the weeds will, in fact, why? I don't know, overtake the flora and the fauna. That's what happens in a real garden. So think about your own stomach. If you are not weeding the garden every now and then, it's the weeds are going to take over the good bacteria. So the bad bacteria in the gut takes over the good bacteria in the gut, just like the weeds take over the flowers. So the cake for your kids at the party and the bag of Doritos or the sip of Coke, God forbid, is not going to kill them. But here's what the great thing is that when you know what Dr. Daryl is talking about, and when you start to make different choices in your diet and you start to feel what those choices feel like. Like I could go to a birthday party for 6 hours, and if there's only Coke to drink, I wouldn't have anything to drink because it's not a choice I would ever make for myself. It's not, I don't even consider it a drink. I don't consider it an option.
Heather, don't you love when you're on like a flight and all of a sudden the flight attendant comes by with that basket of all those like crappy snacks and everyone's like, they're going crazy. Like, you missed me. Wait, I want that. Can I get an extra? It's like, oh my gosh, like you don't need that. Like the average American eats 27 times a day. It's insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And what you're doing is you're dumping insulin into your blood every time you do that. And it's been proven insulin is not only the hormone that stores fat, which is bad. We don't want to be fat. But it also drives up inflammation in our body. And what happens is the more insulin we dump into our body over the course of our lifetime, it lessens our longevity. We die sooner. And talking about the obese child you mentioned before, it's the first time in human history that our children, that generation that is the most important to us, right, as parents, for the first time in human history, they have less of a lifespan than we do. And to me, as a parent, it breaks my heart. It makes me sad. And that's why I will fight. That's why I will stand up in arms together with you and everybody else to protect our kids, because it's not going to happen out there. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And now they're on these things all the time and the EMF exposure. So again, this is the world that we live in right now. It's not about saying don't do those things. Like, yes, technology is amazing. This is how we're reaching people right now to help them. It's a blessing. But we have to basically meet that stressful demand on our body, and not just meet it, exceed it. Because again, it's just like a checking account. You know, if there's more withdrawals happening, it's the same thing with your body. You're going to get depleted and you're going to suffer. The plant, if that plant starts to wilt back there, most doctors will give it drugs and surgery. No, it's like, let's give it water. Let's give it nutrients, right? Let's give it water. Let's give it sunshine. But here's the problem. It's still wilting. How come? Because we didn't realize that gas station next door was leaking toxins into the root system of that plant. So here's the cause of all disease. It's not only deficiency, giving the body the nutrients that it needs, it's toxicity. So if we can remove toxins from our body in gentle ways, we could talk about these things, and we can add in the nutrients to strengthen our body, the body is designed to heal itself. You cut your finger, you come back in 2 days, the Band-Aid didn't heal you, the bacitracin didn't heal you, your body healed you, God healed you. We have this amazing power. Mom cell, dad cell comes together, 9.5 months, baby's born. That power that made the body does not stop living inside you. That power is always with you to heal, to restore, to make you new again. But we have to give it help because, again, the toxins have become so overwhelming.
That's right. It's so important. I mean, insulin, when you pour all that insulin in, also what happens is you become insulin resistant, and then you're holding the fat, and that also leads to so many chronic diseases. Well, we have definitely done a great job laying out the problem, Doc. So now
let's fix it now.
Let's talk about how we can fix it. I want to get right into your brand and your coaching platform, because that's really a place where people can go, because there's a lot of information. And the fact of the matter is that I can help that kid. I can change his life. And I probably am going to go try to do it, because one gut at a time, one choice at a time, you can work your way toward optimal health. And if you don't spend a little bit of time on your wellness, you're going to be spending a whole hell of a lot of time on your illness.
Boom,
so
you said it.
The floor is yours, honey. Let's talk a little bit about Kick Acid Enterprises, which I love. and it's your Alkamind brand. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, that's the one thing we all have to realize, is that it's all about the quality of the choices that you make. The quality of the choices you make today are going to not only determine your energy, losing weight, but also your longevity, how we feel as you age. There is something called the chronological age. I'm 49. That's my number, but that's not my biological age. Like, I test my biological age. I do it through heart rate variability and telomeres, and like, it's less. It was 32 last time I tested. I test it every year on my birthday. And I'm not saying that to impress anybody, but to impress upon you, your number is your number. We've all seen people who are a specific age, and we've seen people who look 20 years older than that, who are the same age, 20 years younger.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you're at in your life. It doesn't matter how old or young. It all comes down to the quality of the choices you make, and it starts with food. So there's two sides to my brand. Alkamind, which is getoffyouracid.com. That's our supplement side of the brand, which I really created when my dad was dealing with esophageal cancer from silent reflux. I would say about 85% of the clients that come to coach with me, yes, they're all gut, but are people with really serious reflux who have been down the allopathic world. They've seen 10 different doctors. They spent tons of money. Many people, all of their savings, and they're worse off. They're on 40 milligrams of omeprazole. They're on 80 milligrams of omeprazole, which is a PPI that they use to treat reflux. And here's the crazy thing about that. A research study 2 years ago shows that 54% of the time when you take these acid reflux drugs, you still feel worse. So you're taking a drug that's very toxic to the body. It's probably in the top 5 worst drugs you can take for your health and your longevity. But here's the crazy thing. On the box, it says don't consume for more than 14 days. Like, and they're 5 years, 10 years.
Yes.
And so I understand, like, you know, why people take it. Like, I've had reflux so bad in my life when I was being destroyed by mold. I get it, but like, it's designed for the short term to just kind of walk you off the edge of the cliff. But during that time, you have to investigate the body. So we've created this whole line of amazing products to help restore your gut. We have amazing greens, minerals. Like, these minerals are designed for acid reflux. And we just launched Gut Punch. Gut Punch is, it's going to disrupt the entire gut industry because we're the first brand to use dairy-free colostrum. Like, you've heard of colostrum before. It's very popular now. Just like coffee, there's so many benefits to it, but there's one big downside, right? Coffee's very acidic. So we have a product that neutralizes the acid in the coffee. So now you get the upside minus the downside. It's the same thing with colostrum. There's many benefits to colostrum, but the one huge downside is it's dairy.
Yes.
Like, we were never meant to consume another mammal's breast milk. Like, we're the only mammals in this world that consumes another mammal's breast milk after weaning. Cows don't even drink cow's milk. Why are we?
I know.
All right. So it's just like, from a common sense standpoint.
It's another big misnomer that milk is the body good. That's a marketing campaign. And yes, it has vitamin D in it, but I get my vitamin D all kinds of ways, and it ain't through milk.
That's right. Just walk out in the sun for a little bit, right? So we have dairy-free colostrum, which has more IgG antibodies. So basically, it's going to fight anything bad in your gut. We've done research that binds to over 41 different toxins in your gut, from candida, which is like yeast, to molds and aflatoxins, which you find in corn and peanuts, to heavy bacteria like citrobacteria and Klebsiella and all these things. But it also, most importantly, it heals and seals your gut lining. It strengthens your gut. And we combine that dairy-free colostrum with, we're the first brand to do this, organic collagen peptides, grass finished. So you've seen grass finished peptides everywhere, but we are the first ones to use organic collagen. So again, it's the 1-2 punch to basically knock out bloating, acid reflux, leaky gut, inflammation, intestinal pain, and downstream issues caused by gut inflammation, which is skin issues and brain fog and things like that. So again, that's kind of the Alkamind side. And then there's the virtual coaching side, which is all about gut health.
Well, and the virtual coaching side would be probably one of the first stops, right? Because I want to back up a little and just talk to people about some symptoms. Yeah. So, because we've been rolling through it. So if you are feeling lethargic, you really are low on energy, you are not sleeping well, you're not regular, going to the bathroom regular, you don't have regularity, you're probably constipated, you have bloating, you have skin eruptions, you have dull, brittle nails and things like that. Any of those things, or even like a lot of itchy skin, that's probably a sign that there's something off in your gut. So I fell off a ton of things, and there's probably a couple more you could even add. But if you're dealing with something that won't go away on your skin, if you're dealing with something like acid reflux that won't go away and you keep popping a tablet, there's a really good, like 100% chance you need to focus on your gut.
Yes.
And, I've always said that. And, I came up with apple cider vinegar that was delicious. I didn't create apple cider vinegar. I listened to Socrates, and because I think actually his quote is all disease begins and ends in the gut.
Love that.
And if I added that part, I don't remember, but because
you added that, and I like that.
You can end it there too. I
love that.
My apple cider vinegars took away the barrier of the pungent taste of vinegar, but the fermented food, that's the piece that's good. I say to them, if you can't get to my apple cider vinegar, eat some pickles, go get some kimchi if you don't know what it is. Sauerkraut. Go eat sauerkraut. The fermented foods, they're not even probiotic. They're just full of healthy bacteria.
That's right, which is going to nourish your gut microbiome. The only caveat, the people that want to sit that out, is they're having an overgrowth of candida. If you have white on your tongue, that's something called thrush, which is a sign of a candida infection in your gut. And if you did have that, I would recommend basically getting a little bit of coconut oil and just basically consuming that. Start with a teaspoon every day and just swallow that, because coconut oil is a very powerful antifungal. But if
you
you're having
swish with it so that you
swish it in your mouth
and swish it around, let it draws all the bacteria out of your teeth.
Pulls it out.
It pulls it out. So yeah, if you have a white tongue, your tongue, that's another huge sign. Look in the mirror, stick out your tongue. Is it pink and delicious, or is it white and crusty? Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are big signs.
Oh my gosh. And yes, and it's about following that evidence, because again, if you have that, that means there's an overgrowth of candida, which is bad. Everyone's got candida in their gut. We test for this in our GI map gut test. Everybody's got it, but it's when you have an overgrowth that it becomes dangerous. And that will cause specific symptoms like the tongue. Brain fog is another big one, because again, it attacks the brain through the leaky gut. And when you realize, why does my body have so much candida? What does candida thrive on? Sugar. Okay, so usually you have a high carb diet, lots of sugar in your diet. So now let's take that one step further. Why am I craving sugar even when I'm trying to stop? Because you have a magnesium and mineral deficiency. So if you are one of those people out there like I was that is really struggling with getting over sugar, then I want you to start adding more leafy greens into your diet. Greens are the core of a strength eating diet. I'll say it again. And the easy way to do it is to get a green juice. Like, you have a great greens powder. I have a great greens powder. You can do a fresh green juice. I have people always say, like, Dr. D, what's the best juicer to get? And my answer is always the same. The one that you're going to use. I have Heather, I have 5 different juicers. I'm nuts. I have 5 different juicers. And like some of them, like, it's like they're impossible to clean. The juice, they're masticating. I'll get 30% more juice, but like it takes an hour. So I got this big,
I get mine.
That's even easier. But anyway, like celery juice, just buy something that's easy to clean. If you don't want to make it, you can do the powders. You can do that, what Heather's showing you. But my point is, you need to get more greens into your diet. Why are greens so powerful? They did a recent study showing that the group, they basically did a study of 21,000 different people from the UK, Italy, and the United States. And they looked at their microbiomes through through different types of like stool testing, right? They didn't say which specific one it was, which is important to me because they can give different markers. But here's the bottom line. The vegans, and I hate to use the word vegan because you can eat vegan Twinkies, right?
Right. So someone who ran mostly a plant-based diet.
Plant-based diet. So let's use that word, which I like better. So the people that consume more plants in their lifestyle had the best garden, as you said before, right? They had the most flowers in their garden. They had the best microbial diversity, the best probiotics, right? That's what we want, more probiotics. The group that ate the most meat, the omnivores, they had not only the worst, but they had the highest levels of inflammation and toxic overload. But here's the cool thing. Meat, this is not about saying don't eat meat. Like, animal protein is one of the most important things for a healthy microbiome, because again, as we get older, we don't get stronger, we get weaker. Yes. We don't get faster, we get a little slower. We don't produce more acid in our stomach, we produce less. And that is the first line of defense right there. So we'll talk about how we're going to use your apple cider vinegar in a second to help people out big time. But that is something that's very, very important, because we want to basically get a little bit more acid in the stomach, because the cause of acid reflux, when you hear it, it's contrary to what our common sense would believe, is actually lower stomach acid, not higher stomach acid, right? So we need those greens because they're high in minerals like magnesium, which is going to help that valve that goes between your esophagus and your stomach from opening and closing properly, right? And they also lower inflammation. So that group that ate the most had the least amount of inflammation, but the group that was eating more, that ate a lot of animal protein, that also ate vegetables in combination, their microbial diversity was the same as the plant-based group. So it doesn't matter if you're paleo, if you're vegan, if you're vegetarian, if you're keto, alkaline, I don't care about the diet. What I care about, are you getting the right macros in your diet? You've got to get lots of leafy greens. I love smoothies and green juice as well. Every meal I try to get a salad, right? You have to get the healthy fats. Things like avocado, which I call God's butter, raw nuts and seeds, like hemp seeds, which is high in protein, chia seeds. Like, chia seeds are amazing. They're 50% omega-3 fatty acids, which lowers inflammation, 20% protein. They're high in fiber, they're high in minerals like magnesium. You could do my chia shot. where you're basically taking 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, put that in about 6 ounces of water, a little pinch of good salt, like Redmond real salt or Baja Gold, squeeze a lemon, let it sit for about 10 minutes because the chia seeds are going to plump up to about 27 times their weight and they become gelatinous. And then you drink that on an empty stomach. And that's what I call my internal shower shot. And what happens is all those chia seeds go into all the nooks and crannies of your gut, which is crazy, has a surface area of nearly 2 tennis courts. And it basically gives you that gentle detoxification and cleansing. So if you're constipated, which a lot of Americans are, 42 million Americans, that's what you want to do, not take the laxative, right? So you want to get more of those types of foods into the diet. Protein is essential because that's going to gently build up your stomach acid, but Americans consume 5 times the amount of protein. So make sure it's the sideshow, not the main event of the plate. 2 to 4 ounces per meal seems to work great. If it's a piece of fish, size of a checkbook. If it's a piece of chicken or beef or whatever, about the size of your fist. And then you got to get the 4th macro, those fiber-rich, slow-burning carbs. So avoid the grains because they're stored. They're going to be high in mold. They also cause leaky gut. Let's go with more things like quinoa, which is a seed. Wild rice is a grass. Root vegetables. Sweet potatoes with a little bit of cinnamon and coconut oil. Squash and things like that. Fruits, right? Blueberries, what I call brain berries. Low glycemic. So anything that ends in berry is the type of fruit that you want to eat because it's lower in sugar. Do green apples instead of red apples, lower in sugar. This is how we want everybody to start to think about it. It's not about being perfect. It's not about deprivation. It's about slowly adding in things one at a time that over time is going to stack and build momentum. And before you know it, energy's up, weight's coming down, brain's feeling sharper, sleep's better, thyroid's better. Why? Because you're giving your body the things that it needs to thrive.
Amazing. I want to remind everybody too that let's go back to choice. So, and let's go back to what you know you're doing and you know what you're not doing. So if you're eating mostly meat, if you're eating big portions of meat, animal protein, at your meals, the next choice is to eat less, to make a new choice, to try to add one thing new into your diet. So if you're having meat every night and you're like, well, what do I eat for protein if I can't have meat because I'm 50 and I need my protein? Well, there's a million different ways that you can find different proteins to eat. And so the idea is to just start to make one step in the right direction, one change. If you're eating sugar in soda and in Twinkies that you mentioned, it don't matter if you eat a green apple or a red apple, eat the damn apple. So, it's
God's candy.
Always, you got to meet people where they are. And it's always about making sure that you are being honest with yourself and you're looking in the mirror and you're saying, I'm carrying extra weight. I'm inflamed. My face is red. I can see it. I can see people walking around. I'm like insulin resistant. Insulin resistant. So easy to kind of call out now. And by the way, both of us have been there. Like we've been on that side. I went through the menopause weight gain and I'm in this field and I had this 20 pounds. I could not get off no matter what I did. I was in insulin resistance. I had to reverse and start to go, what's the core of this? And even train myself. And I want to talk about something that's really important because it is sugar that we're really focused on here today. And we are focused on, inflammation based on sugar addiction, inflammation based on processed food, which has sugar in it. So
and seed oils.
Everything does. So read your ingredients, look at your labels, but more than just sugar, I want to talk about other personal health reasons that were not your own that helped you on this journey. And you did mention your dad. And that he suffered from esophageal cancer. I don't know if you said that or if you said that he suffered from reflux, but I want to bring you back there because I want to talk about this link, listeners, because this is a real link. When you're talking about acid reflux and you're like, oh yeah, I always have acid reflux and you're taking Prevacid every single day and you're doing all this stuff. I want you to know that down that road, that path that you're on, if you don't do something to correct it now, you are going to be looking in the face of esophageal cancer. They are connected. And so I want to not bring up a bad subject, but I want to bring that because you're on the other side of this helping people, but I want to talk that these signs are signs that are neon and they're blinking bright, that you're headed down this path. Can you talk a little bit about your dad and that experience?
Absolutely. It was September 2014, and I was running in Central Park because a week later was the big New York Marathon, like one of the biggest days in New York City. And for 20 years, had I wanted to run this marathon, and finally, it's happening, right? And my parents they're amazing. They were living in Vermont at the time, and they always, would come to all my soccer games when I played at BC and all these things. And so I'm basically running in Central Park, and all the stands are up, and I'm envisioning crossing that finish line. My wife would be there, my mom and dad, my son Braden, who was just born, was 6 months at the time. He'd be there, and all of a sudden, my phone starts vibrating in my pocket. So I take it out, and I see a missed call from my brother. So me being the goofy guy, I take a selfie as I'm like in mid stride, text it back to him, I keep going. Literally 2 seconds later, take out my phone, call, emergency. And right in that moment, I knew it was something that happened to my mom or my dad. They were driving down from Vermont. They were coming to New York to basically watch me that following week for the marathon when I learned that there was an accident. They were in the HOV lane. Hartford, like 91 South, is a pretty crazy highway. So they were in the HOV lane, and my mom was knitting a sweater for my son, Braden, when all of a sudden she feels the car doing this. Well, there's one big problem. A concrete divider going 70 miles per hour. So she looks over at my father, and there he is, passed out against the window. Yeah. Car goes up the concrete divider. She grabs his leg off the accelerator. Car comes back down. Car goes back up. She goes and pulls the keys out of the ignition. The car comes down and comes to a grinding halt, pinned against the divider. I mean, Heather, it's a miracle that they didn't flip over onto oncoming traffic, kill themselves and everybody else in that potential accident. So now I'm in a zip car, because we don't have cars in New York City, going up to the hospital in Hartford. And the entire way up, I'm trying to think to myself. So basically, he was passed out about 2.5 minutes. My mom thought that he was dead. She calls 911, ambulance comes 18 minutes later. I'm driving up to Hartford, and I'm thinking, okay, was this a heart attack? Was this a stroke? Was this an aneurysm? And when I get to the hospital, the doctor says, no, your dad has esophageal cancer. I'm like, what? Esophageal cancer? It was just crazy. And then 3 days later, we're at Sloan Kettering in New York City with one of the top specialists in the world at esophageal cancer. And he said, word for word, the cause of your dad's cancer, too much acid. Hold that thought for 1 second, right? And it's crazy because I'm wearing my shirt that says, get off your acid. That night, I'm actually giving a keynote address for one of the biggest wellness events in New York City. And everyone looks at me because I'm the acid guy, right? Or the get off your acid guy. And it's like, all right, we can do something about this. So I start basically doubling down. I start calling every doctor that I know, every specialist that I know, and reading every research article that I know, figuring out, why did this happen in the first place? Why didn't we notice that dry hacking cough that he had for so many years? Why didn't no one pick up on that? And most important, what can we do to reverse this? So fast forward 3 years later, I'm going up to Connecticut to, it was on my birthday actually, with my 2 children. My daughter, which is 4 now, she's a few months old. And we get to my brother's house, and my dad's there, and he didn't look good. He lost a ton of weight. You can tell that he was losing the fight. But we had a beautiful day celebrating. I go back to New York, and not only 2 hours later, I get a call. You got to come back up. Dad's on life support in the hospital. So I go up, we gather around his hospital bed, and I'm holding his hand. And that's when I made my vow to my dad. And this is the last page of my first book, Get Off Your Acid, where I said, Dad, I'm going to do everything in my power to prevent this from happening to other people. Like, I wasn't able to save your life, and I'm so sorry, but we're going to do whatever we can to make sure this doesn't happen to other people. And then they pulled the tube out, and he died right there. I was holding his hand. So Heather, it's always tough to kind of go back, but that has become my new mission in life. Acid reflux is a very serious problem. And if you are out there, I went through it. I suffered bad from it. I made it to the other side. And this is why I became a specialist in it, because I was trying to save my father. And it was amazing. About 2 weeks after my dad passed, one of his doctors called me up, and he's like, Daryl, he's like, I don't understand most of what you did for your dad, but I can tell you that it absolutely prolonged his life. Heather, they gave him a few months to live when they diagnosed him. He lived nearly 3 years. But again, it wasn't enough to save him. But now we're saving as many people as we can. But you got to test your gut. Whether you feel good, you got to test your gut. Don't wait for a toothache to start fixing your teeth and checking for cavities, right? We brush, we floss, we go to the hygienist, we get x-rays. We have to be proactive. But the gut's even more important, because you can replace your teeth, right? But you only have one gut.
Right.
So you got to take care of it. You got to test. This is my mission in life. This is to make regular gut testing, which is a DNA stool sample. We send people a kit. They take a poop at home. It's really easy. Don't send it to me. Send it to the lab. And then within a few weeks, like, we know everything about what's going on in your gut, the leaky gut, the inflammation, food sensitivities, what pathogens are in there. And once we have that information, you mentioned that word root cause a few times, and you're spot on. Now we can identify the root cause. And once we can identify the root cause, guess what we can do? We can put together a practical plan that fits into your lifestyle to actually fix your gut and fix the problem.
Now, you guys, Dr. Daryl is so passionate about this. Obviously, we just talked about his dad and the challenges that they faced and what they were able to overcome and what happened in the end. And so we don't want that to happen to any of you. And Dr. Daryl is so kind that he doesn't want you to just listen to this podcast. He wants you to get off your acid and do something about it. And so you are offering something to my listeners exclusively right now here on this podcast. And it's an opportunity for you guys to get out in front of your own health. And I can't thank you enough for it. Can you please tell the audience what you're offering today?
Absolutely. So we do a gut lab testing package where we send you 2 kits. It's a GI map, which is the stool sample kit, or the poop test, as many people call it. And then we also send you what's called an MRT food sensitivity kit. So it's the only test you should ever be looking at to look at food sensitivities, which is another big time cause of hidden inflammation in the gut and the body. It also includes a 45-minute lab review. So you do the kits, that they go to the lab, we get the results back, we hop on a 45-minute lab review. And what I'm doing special for your amazing Thriving guests, because of you, because you're so awesome, is we're giving them a 15% discount with the code Heather15. And so that's for the virtual coaching. We'll give you guys a link for that. If you are interested in getting Gut Punch or any of our other gut supplements, which is getofyouracid.com, all you need to do is put in the coupon code at checkout. Again, Heather15, all caps Heather15. It is case sensitive, and you're going to get a 15% discount on all of our acid kicking supplements. We just want you to get healthy. We want you to get well. And by the way, you got to get Heather supplements because they're amazing. And I want to give them one thing that they need to do, because I always say you're not what you eat, you're what you digest, absorb, and assimilate. So if you have bloating, if you have indigestion, if you have constipation, the only people that will want to sit this one out is if you have moderate to severe reflux. What you're going to do is you're going to grab Heather's apple cider vinegar. And I love it because it's not just apple cider vinegar. She also has other ingredients in there that have amazing enzymes to help you break down your food. Again, you're not what you eat, you're what you digest, absorb, and assimilate. We have to break down the nutrients to get them into our body so we can get the energy to our cells, so we can avoid the food sensitivities. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a tablespoon of her apple cider vinegar, and 20 to 30 minutes before your biggest meal of the day, for most of us, that's dinner time, you're going to put that in about 1/3 cup of warm water. I like warm water because it increases the hydrochloric acid, the gastrin. It could be room temperature, it's fine. But take 1 tablespoon, put that in 1/3 cup of warm water, drink that on an empty stomach, 20 to 30 minutes before your biggest meal of the day. And that's going to gently start to increase the enzymes and also the hydrochloric acid so you can start to digest your meals better. The reason why we're bloated is because we're not digesting your food, and that's going to be a big help. So that's a great little tip. But again, just start somewhere, guys. Pick one thing and master that thing and then go from there.
Okay, that's one little tip. I love that. And I appreciate that. Dr. Greger, you guys, Michael Greger's been on the show, and he also talks about a shot of apple cider vinegar before every meal. He doesn't even say your big meal. He's like, just get it in you for that same reason. But I love it. And I like, you can warm up my apple cider vinegar. It's very delicious that way. So I appreciate the tip. But you have a lot of great hacks for a lot of common problems. So you just gave one, and thank you for that. I appreciate it, for beyond fresh apple cider vinegar and bloating. But let's talk about a hack for constipation.
Constipation, I want you guys to do my internal shower shot that I mentioned before. So again, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, 6 ounces of water, squeeze a lemon slice, and then a little pinch of a good healthy salt. Let that sit for 10 minutes, and then you're going to drink that, mix it up, drink that on an empty stomach. That's one thing. Remember, constipation is because we are inflamed. Also, if our liver and our gallbladder is like sluggish or stagnant because we're over toxic, we have to get that bile to flow. So I love, was that beetroot juice you were drinking before?
Yes.
It's perfect. So that's what you want to do. You want to drink beetroot juice because beets, you can eat beets. I hate beets themselves.
Yeah.
But beetroot juice, I love. If you want to get your kids to drink green juice, you get a green juice and then put a little beetroot juice in there, it changes the color, right? So they love purple, but they don't like green, right? So, but get some beetroot juice in there as well, or eat some beets. That's going to help. We have a great magnesium supplement because at the end of the day, when we are deficient in magnesium, it's going to cause the lumen, the opening of the gut, to narrow down. So you want to open that up, and that's what magnesium does. Same reason why it helps people with headaches. All right, it's going to cause things to open up and dilate. And let's just keep it simple. The solution to pollution is dilution. Let's drink more water.
I was
Give the plant water, right? Let's hydrate more. We need a lot more water than we're drinking. So again, we lose about 2.5 liters of water every day. If you're exercising, or you're pregnant, or you're an athlete, that's going to be more. So let's aim to go for 3 to 4 liters of some good quality water. Water that's filtered. I love hydrogen water, molecular hydrogen. But again, the key thing is clean water, and let's drink more of that. So that's going to help constipation.
You guys know I talk about my water filters. You got to filter out that water, get out those.
Absolutely.
And
don't let your body be the filter. Don't let your body be the filter.
Don't let your body be the filter. That is really, really important. Now, one of the reasons I mentioned constipation too is because it's a travel trigger. And I always say travel triggers, like when things start to bother you when you travel, those are also signs that it's something that you have to take care of because you're traveling and all of the things that come along with it. But, chia seeds are something that I keep in my travel kit for that exact reason. So just wanted everybody.
And Heather, I have no tie to this company, but this tea by Traditional Medicinals called Smooth Move. If you want to there's a lot.
I can go get it out of my closet right now.
Yeah.
Tea is that's what you guys. Tea is
I've been there, guys. So like that's good for home or traveling. If I have acid reflux, I'll do like throat coat or throat comfort tea, slippery elm. We can get more into specifics on that as well. But like there's simple ways, cost-effective ways that we can treat these things as well.
So after acid reflux, I do want you to talk about your hack about that. Tell them about the slippery elm.
Yeah, slippery elm is amazing because it basically helps the mucus production. It soothes and calms the whole upper GI tract. So I love that. There's some great teas by Yogi and Traditional Medicinals that have not only slippery elm, but things like marshmallow root. I also like to make my own. So what I'll do is I'll get a big bag of marshmallow root, like Star West Botanicals has a great organic one. Again, I have no ties to these companies. This is what I use. So I'll get like marshmallow root from them, and I'll get cinnamon bark, like little things of cinnamon. And what I'll do is I'll get like a big, like one of those like glass jars with a top that you can close. And here's the ratio. For every 3 tablespoons of marshmallow root you're going to pour in that jar, you do 1 tablespoon of the cinnamon bark. So again, 3 tablespoons of marshmallow root, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon bark. And you keep doing that until you get like a jar filled. And now you have this amazing tea mixture. Now what you do is you're going to take 1 tablespoon of that and you're going to put that in 8 ounces of water. What I like to do is make a big batch of that. So I'll do 4 tablespoons in 32 ounces of water. And then I'll just let it sit overnight. You'll come back the next morning. It's going to be like a straw yellow color. You just basically put it through like a sifter and filter it out. And then now you have this amazing tea that is going to soothe and calm and heal. And basically any upper GI, whether you have throat burn, acid reflux, sinus issues, right? Yeah. Sinus issues come from the gut. Everyone needs to know that. It is a gut problem. 95% of the bacteria here comes from down there. So I love that tea as a simple way. It's super easy to make. It doesn't cost a lot of money. And these are things I always keep in my fridge just to have them. And if you don't have reflux, guess what? You can still do this because this is all healing to your gut.
Exactly. I mean, hopefully not everybody has all the problems, but I'm sure there's a lot that people can relate to. And certainly energy and lethargy and brain fog and all these things, they're all symptoms of what you can be doing on the inside to help your outside. I can't thank you enough for being so committed to reshaping the landscape of nutrition and really holistic well-being. Because if you you guys listen to every single thing Dr. Daryl said, nothing he said was unnatural. He's talking about willow bark and tree bark and cinnamon sticks. And you know what I'm saying? Like
nature is the greatest healer, isn't it?
Nature is the greatest healer. And that's what we started to talk about at the very beginning of this podcast. Our microbiome is the microcosm of the bigger biome, which is this planet and this world that we live in. And I couldn't be here if you weren't here. You couldn't exist if the flower wasn't waiting to come, and blossom. Like we all are part of this super ecosystem. And what you put out in the world really does matter. And we want you to put all your greatness out there in the world. We don't want you to feel lethargic and low energy and unhappy when you look in the mirror, or depressed, or you can't get out of bed. This is a beautiful opportunity we have living this life. And we want to put one foot in front of the other toward the best longevity that we can. We're living longer than we ever have, but we're sicker than we've ever been. You know, the bad news, it's more toxic than ever. But the good news is that more and more people, because of people like you, Dr. Daryl, are understanding that the gut is our first line of defense. So I just want to make sure that we can really empower our listeners more to combat inflammation and unlock their peak health and energy. So please tell them where they can find you at Kick-Ass Enterprises, and more about you, and where they can take again on this amazing offer that you just for us. And so, because I love that. It's like, it's a lot of times it's a lot of advice, and then it's like, okay, now I got to go. Like, you're really putting your money where your mouth is. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, always. And that's how we have to be. And I want to echo everything that you said right back at you, because you are walking the walk. You are a living testimony of this lifestyle that we can change ourselves. Yes, we're living longer, but we're dying sooner, but it doesn't have to be like that. And no matter what you are dealing with out there, guys, like, it starts today. Like, it's a new leaf, right? But again, you got to commit. We gave a lot of different strategies, but at the end of the day, the most important strategy is coming up with a powerful why. Because if your why is big enough, your purpose, your reason behind why you choose what you do, your how will find a way. You can break through any barriers that are holding you back if your why is big enough. And that is how we beat everything that's going on in our health. All right. We can give the strategy. Start with one thing, master that thing. But the very first thing I want you to do is spend 5 minutes, get a pad and paper like I always have here, and just write down, like, why is this important to you? Like, yes, we can have a superficial reason for why we want to lose weight, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like, let's dig deeper. For me, it's, I want to be around long enough to see my kids grow up. I want to change their lives. I want to change their friends' lives. It's the ripple effect, or what I call the wave, right? You never know how far reaching something we can think today, say today, or do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. We got to help the children. This generation needs it, and we can do it. So thank you for having me on. I love and appreciate you. Keep on doing the amazing work you are doing. We are all here behind you to support you, because you're helping so many people. You can find me at getoffyouracid.com. That's our main site. My Instagram is at Dr. Daryl Gioffre. That's kind of where you see a lot of stuff. So you can DM me. And again, if you want to do the testing, that's a great way to find us as well. And my other Instagram is Get Off Your Acid.
I love that. And Gioffre is Dr. Daryl Gioffre is Gioffre, because I was just bastardizing that name.
Thank you. And Daryl is Daryl.
Daryl Gioffre is where you can find Doc. Now, listen, I wanted to ask you one thing. Aside from your, morning shows, you've been on several talk shows and morning shows. You're also a passionate motivational speaker, and you also hold a seat on Fran Drescher's Cancer Smasher board. So Fran is a friend through the Housewives. But I also I noticed, and I have to just ask you for my own edification. So Kelly Ripa is a client, Ryan Seacrest, a client, a lot of the Real Housewives are clients. So is Andy Cohen the link? Is he your link?
No, I haven't worked with Andy Cohen yet.
Oh my God! I wonder if Andy is the link.
I can say Kelly was really the one that started all up. I love her. She talk about walking the walk. Like, she is just a powerhouse. Yes. What you see on that show is her in real life. She's the most amazing human being. She's super mom. She's like the best business person, but she is able to do all that and have that energy because of the way she takes care of herself. And it was, so yeah, that's kind of like how it all started way back when. And she went on my detox. She talked about this. She wrote the foreword to both of my books to help her daughter out. And she was going through some things as well, and it just changed her life. And literally within days, that's the power, guys. Your body is so powerful to heal. Just get started, right? And then I started working with Dorinda, and I was on an episode of The Real Housewives of New York. Yeah, I was on with her and Luann and Ramona, and back in the day, Jill Zarin and Carol. And yeah, so I love you guys. You're amazing.
Oh, that is so funny. Okay, now I'm going to take 5 more minutes of the podcast because you just said right after the Housewives, we talked about alcohol.
Oh,
I do want to talk, because we talked about sugar, and there's a lot of stuff going on there around alcohol. The Surgeon General warning, and it is toxic.
Yes.
too much of it is toxic. So just give everyone just a quick 5-second synopsis on the sugar alcohol, the sugar and alcohol. You know, I always tell people whenever I see someone drinking a glass of white wine, I'm like, that's a glass of sugar. You know what I mean? I'll even have one. I do like once in a while a glass of something, but I mean, it's so far and few between now that I actually drink it. You know, maybe if I'm at a French restaurant or having a French lunch, I have to have a glass of Sauvignon Blanc, but I balance it with what I drink later that day. But tell them a little bit about that.
I'm going to tell you about it, and I have an amazing hack for you guys for this. The Surgeon General did actually recently just say that it is the third leading cause of preventable death behind tobacco and behind obesity. That's a significant statement right there. But here's the thing. This is part of our culture. We're going to drink. So it's not about saying don't drink. It's about moderation, but it's about never do this one. This is a better version. This is the best version. So never do beer. Sorry, beer drinkers. Don't kill the messenger. It's basically a fermented grain, which is bad. Wine, middle of the road, because it's loaded with sugar, what you just said, and yeast, which is very, very bad for our gut. And then the best ones would be like a grain-free vodka, like a Syrah or Chopin, a tequila or a gin. But at the end of the day, like you nailed it. Sugar is the problem. Sugar equals acid, and acid equals inflammation. The reason why alcohol is so bad for your body is because it's so acidic. Red wine has a pH of 3.1. That's 10,000 times more acidic than this water I'm drinking. It destroys your gut. It destroys your gut lining. It destroys your liver. It dries up inflammation. It causes our brains to be foggy. And this is why we wake up the next day and we feel like you know what.
Yes.
So just like it took,
crap.
so just like it took me 5 years to create acid kicking coffee, which you add to your coffee to neutralize the acid. I'm like, all right. And I could thank Kelly Ripa for that, by the way, because on the show, the first time she talked about it, she's like, oh, he's like, you know, I did this cleanse and it changed my life. But I'm still drinking my coffee and didn't tell him. I'm like, I was telling people, don't drink coffee. I'm like, no, stupid. They're going to drink coffee. How can we make it a better version?
That's right.
So we came out with acid kicking coffee. It's amazing. So now I'm like, all right, the same thing follows suit with alcohol. So I'm like, how can we make alcohol the best version of itself? Well, I just gave you strategies to choose better alcohol, but you got to kick your alcohol's acid before it touches your lips. So last year we launched, and I'm sorry for the shameless plug, but this is important for people to know, acid kicking alcohol. So all this takes is 5 drops. I'm going to send you a bottle, 5 drops in your favorite spirit. It could be anything, beer, wine, gin, tequila, whatever it is. And that will neutralize over 99% of all the acid in that alcohol. So now you're not going to get the irritations. I mean, by the way, Luann, and Ramona, these are their favorites. I mean, they'll tell you that, like, I don't like, you know, if I'm having a few cocktails, I'm fine. Like, I'm not going to have that. So again, like, it's about moderation.
Yes.
Let's enjoy our lives. Let's make this a lifestyle, but let's do our best to try to find the best versions of these things so that they don't take us out. It's okay to have a few cocktails when you do, but when you do this, now you've removed that worst component of the alcohol, which is the acid.
Yeah, 100, especially if you're going out for, like, if you're having 1 glass of wine or something like that, and you have that in your pocketbook, for sure, put it in. But it's like when you know you're going to a bachelor party, you know you're going to the wedding weekend, you know what I mean? You want to set yourself up for success and not feel like the whole time. So I love all these little hacks. I'm glad I brought that one back up again because we had to. So I am so, I mean, like, I could just keep you on here for another hour, but I'm going to have to let you go. But
we'll do a round 2. We got to do a round 2 for sure.
We have to do a round 2. Keep doing what you're doing, folks. Everybody, just one step at a time. We love you. We want you to be the best that you can be. And Dr. Daryl's here helping you along the way. And so am I, forever and a day. We love you guys. And thank you so much for being here with me today. I love your energy. I love your passion. I think we need to bottle that. Dr. Daryl, thanks so much.
Right back at you. Thank you so much, Heather.
Yes, and I'm here with you with Health, Harmony, and Heather. We'll be back at you again real soon next week. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.